Well, first of all, good morning, everybody, and many thanks for inviting me here. Before I start, perhaps it'd be useful to just give you a little bit of background into who and what PD Ports are. We're owned by an infrastructure fund called Brookfield Asset Management. They're a Canadian-based infrastructure fund. We've been in their ownership for the past few years. We're one of the probably top 4 or 5 ports in the UK, if measured by volume. We handle through our major ports of Teesport and Hartlepool somewhere in the region of 35 million tonnes of cargo annually, a mix of bulk liquids, dry bulks, containers and unitised business, as well as break bulk cargoes. We employ about 1,250 people in our port estates up in Teesport and Hartlepool, together with people in other facilities that we operate down the east coast of the UK. We have had a fairly tough time in recent years. The well-publicised closure of the SSI steelworks up on Teesside took us at a stroke in September of 2015 when it shut, from being probably the second largest port business in the UK to well down that league. We lost at a stroke nearly 30% of the total volume that we were handling through the port, that being a mix of cargo coming in to feed the blast furnace and the product going out through the port. So that was a pretty savage issue for us. On the wider Teesside front, as you probably know from the media, there was something like 2,500 people employed at that steelworks. There was already an endemic unemployment rate on Teesside of around about 8%. So the closure of this steelworks was a savage blow to the region. Our business has bounced back. We've managed to attract some £700 million worth of investment into the port through the Macquarie Group, who are building a very large biomass power station on Teesport. And in addition to that, we've managed to attract 2 of the major global commodities traders, Glencore and Trafigura, to channel very, very significant volumes through the port. And whilst all of that has been happening, our unitised business, that's the handling of containers and roll-on, roll-off traffic, has continued to grow at an annual rate of around about 12% in the face of, by comparison, throughout the UK, an annual growth of around about 2%. So we're outperforming the market in terms of the growth of that particular area of our business. Our business has quite I think a moral compass at the heart of it. We're obviously in existence to engender a profit for our shareholder, but equally we recognise that we're a fundamental part of the infrastructure in the north of the UK. We think that we can do a lot of good in the north of the UK if we can truly unlock the potential that we see around the Tees Valley and for the Greater North in general. Let me just tell you why. We've got a port complex up there on Teesside which has a capacity to handle between 60 and 70 million tonnes of cargo a year. We have 4,800 acres of land sitting directly behind the port. These are the areas that were previously owned and operated by the various steel companies who operated on Teesside. Now, sadly, much of that land is defunct, but it's brownfield land and it's available for immediate development. And we see a huge dynamic possibility for the north of the UK, not simply for Teesside, if we can unlock the potential of the land utilising the port as the gateway into it. One of the key issues that we face is connectivity. The infrastructure into the port is reasonable, but it lacks durability and resilience. The road links to and from the port into the main motorway network are satisfactory, but could be improved. The rail connectivity to and from the port is reasonable. The east-west rail connectivity, as has already been alluded to, is quite frankly shocking and needs to be unlocked in order that not only the port but also the north of the UK, in our view, can really achieve its maximum potential. We've pioneered a concept called port-centric. I'll just very briefly explain what that means. There are about 9 million TEUs of unitised cargo that come into the UK and go from the UK on an annual basis. The vast majority, in excess of 80%, comes into the UK through the south and southeast ports, Felixstowe, the Thames, Southampton. And yet if you draw a line east-west across the UK through the south of Birmingham, approximately 50% of that volume ends up in the north of the UK. That's ridiculous. We're channeling huge volumes through congested areas of our country when we could bring the volumes direct to the markets that they're designed to serve. We think there's a massive opportunity for the north of the UK in that particular prospect alone. We're only going to realise it if we improve the road and rail infrastructure, which will allow us to satisfactorily service our home markets through our home ports. And we are, as a result of that, very, very emphatic supporters of the TFN initiative. Thanks very much for your time.